Hello, and welcome back to Mr. Moher Music and my classical legends. And today's classical legend is Tchaikovsky. I want you to be able to state some facts about Tchaikovsky and identify how Tchaikovsky wrote a story through music. So let's get started with our Hall of Fame. And our composer is Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. He was composing during the Romantic era, and he is from Votkinsk in Russia. He was born on the 7th of May 1840 and died on the 6th of November 1893. And he composed so many great works, but the one that lots of people know is the 1812 Overture. So let's have a quick look at our history of classical music. And there is Romanticism, there the Romantic era between 1820 and 1910. So let's look a little bit more about Tchaikovsky. So he was quite a varied composer. He started kind of composing for lots of different genres. So from salon works, which are normally just for piano, through to full symphonies for orchestras. And he composed ballets as well. You might have heard of Swan Lake or The Nutcracker. Tchaikovsky's early work was quite sad. After his mother had died when he was young, he was sad, so he wrote sadder music. And Tchaikovsky never really liked the music that he wrote. What his music does do, though, is go through a huge range of emotions. There's happy, there's sad, there's excited, there's miserable. And you can really feel through the music. You can feel how the composer's feeling, and you can feel how he was feeling as well at the time. And the piece we're going to listen to today shows a huge range of emotions. So let's look at the 1812 Overture. Let's start with the orchestra. So we know our families of the orchestra. We've got the woodwinds, and in this piece you've got piccolos, flute, oboe and the cor anglais, and clarinets and bassoons. In the brass section we've got horns, cornets, trumpets, trombones, both tenor and bass, and tuba. You've got the string section, violins in the two sections, violins 1, violins 2, violas, cellos, double basses, and a huge percussion section consisting of timpani, bass drum, snare drum, cymbals, tambourine, and lots of other bits. But also, one thing that's quite unusual about this piece, it also calls for cannons or guns and church bells if they're available. So, very strange. The piece of music tells a story. What's it all about? It's about an invasion that happened in Russia in 1812. Over 400,000 French soldiers with over 1,000 cannons and military marched towards Moscow. And the piece of music, the 1812 Overture, follows this story. The piece starts quite calm. It's a traditional hymn, and it helps set the scene. You hear that start with about 2 minutes in. The first big change happens. And the tempo changes, so that's the speed of the music, it gets a bit faster. The dynamics change, it gets a bit louder. So see if you can spot that. It's about 2 minutes in. Around 4 minutes in, we hear brass. The brass section comes in. And it kind of sounds to me like the army are starting to approach. So see if you can spot that as well. Because there's different bits of tunes that you might hear as well. Tchaikovsky uses a combination of traditional folk songs, hymns, and the French national anthem. It's all very clever. They're all mixed in to like the big middle section of the piece. Around 12 minutes, we're getting ready for this battle to begin. And you hear cannons or guns being fired at this point. and it's very dramatic. The music builds really quickly. You hear the cannons, and then you hear this really interesting section where the music slowly gets lower and lower pitch. And it's to show through the music that the French army are retreating. They're moving away. So that's something you need to try and spot in the music. Just after you've heard that first lot of gun or cannon fire, you'll then hear the music slowly moving down and down and down, lower and lower. And it's really interesting how it helps tell the story. Now, just after that, I guess the best way to describe it, a celebration begins. You can hear bells being rung. You can hear, if you listen really carefully, the same hymn that was played at the beginning, played at the end, but a big, grand, new version using the full orchestra. You can hear more gunshots, more cannon shots as well, as the piece builds and builds and builds towards the end. It is an incredible piece of music, and the composer Tchaikovsky did a great job. It's a long piece of music, it's about 15 minutes, but there's so much going on, so many different sections, and such a great story being told. You can hear what's happening in the story just by listening to the music. So, prepare yourself. 15 minutes. There's a listening sheet you can download from the box below with some questions that relate to different parts of the track. But enjoy it. It's a fantastic piece of music, and it is one of my favourites.